Hello, this is Keith Kreisher, the Executive Director of the IoT M2M Council, or IMC, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all to track one of our IoT Days Fall event presented by the IMC. I certainly hope that everyone out there joining us today is staying safe and well in these frankly dangerous times. The topic for today's track, for this particular track, is iSIM, and we'll be following up a panel discussion of 45 minutes or so on that subject, immediately with a short 10 to 15 minute presentation on device management. Before we begin, I also wanted to cover a few housekeeping items. This webcast is being streamed through your computer, so there is no dial-in number. For the best audio quality, please make sure your computer speakers or headset are turned on and the volume is up so that you can hear the presenters. An on-demand version of the webcast will be made available later today and can be accessed using the same audience link sent to you earlier. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can submit them through the Q&A box on the right side of your screen. The presenters may answer questions at the end of each session, but please feel free to ask your questions at any time during the presentation. Any unanswered questions will be responded to offline. We will have your question and it will be matched with your registration information, so we will get back to you. For those of you that don't know the IMC, perhaps just a quick word of introduction would be a good idea. The IMC is the largest trade organization dedicated to the global IoT sector. Its membership is comprised of 25,000 rank and file adopter members who are individual enterprise users, product makers, and OEMs, and apps developers that deploy IoT solutions. They join the IMC for our content, which includes, in addition to these events, use cases, white papers, newsletters, and blogs, and they qualify for membership as IoT deployers. The IMC Board of Governors includes 35 of the most influential IoT technology companies that provide solutions in the form of hardware, software, and connectivity. They join the IMC for access to our adopter membership for purposes of thought leadership, lead generation, promotion, and research. We encourage any attending today to check out our website at iotm2mcouncil.org. And with that, it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend and colleague, Robin Duke-Woolley, who is the founder and principal at Beecham Research. Robin, good afternoon.
Right, thanks very much, Keith. Yes, so I'm Robin Duke-Woolley, and I'm the moderator for this panel session. So this is from SIM to iSIM, shaping connectivity for a new era. Just a couple of words about myself. So as Keith says, I'm the CEO of Beecham Research. We are an analyst company specializing in the IoT. And we have a handout, in fact, in your group of handouts, which you can find, hopefully, quite easily. It's and the one that I would draw your attention to is a Beecham Research analyst report, which is about iSIM. So it's very relevant to this particular discussion. Now, what I would like to do is ask each of my panelists to introduce themselves over the next few minutes, and then we'll get into the discussion itself. So, Luigi, if you could start by introducing yourself. That's Luigi Capobianco from floLIVE.
Sure, thanks, Robin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this panel. I'm Luigi. I'm taking care of sales and operations across EMEA for floLIVE. At floLIVE, we've been developing since many years now the largest global data network to provide service providers, MVNOs, MNOs with whatever they need, with all the components they need to deliver connectivity to enterprises, and also to provide large enterprises with very specific needs, with specific applications and solutions to cover global connectivity, permanent roaming, and what today's regulated world requires.
Great. Super. That's fantastic. And then Rich Pellegrini, who's from iBASIS. So, Rich, could you just say a few words?
Hi, I'm Rich Pellegrini, and I'm the Senior Product Manager for IoT at iBASIS. I'd like to tell you a little bit about iBASIS. iBASIS is one of the world's largest international carriers, and we provide cellular connectivity to IoT devices globally. We also operate the third largest IP exchange, where we carry roaming traffic between our mobile operator customers around the world on our global private network. Our global access for things service was built from the ground up for eSIM and dynamic profile switching, all controlled by our fully featured Symphony connectivity management platform. Our CMP offers full SIM lifecycle management for IoT devices and provides multiple deployment tiers according to our customers' needs, and also provides full rating and billing. In the area of iSIM, which is the topic of today's panel, we work with an ecosystem of chip manufacturers, module makers, and SIM OS providers to deliver cellular-ready iSIM-based enabled IoT devices. Thank you.
That's super. That's terrific. And then I'd like to introduce Steffen Steinmeier, who is from G&D. I hope I pronounced your name, Steffen, correctly. It's up to you. After you. Thanks.
Thanks, Robin. All fine. Thanks for letting me being part of this forum. Steffen Steinmeier, I'm the head of the Automotive and Teccom sales at Giesecke+Devrient. Giesecke+Devrient being leading global security technology company, driving some 2.5 billion euro of business with what we call 12,000 talents, our employees worldwide. And we are driving innovative solutions in payment, identity solutions, digital infrastructure, and connectivity. And in connectivity, recent reports have ranked G&D as the leading provider of eSIM technology. And now I'm in particular proud and happy to discuss today about this next generation of SIM technology, where I personally have been involved in pioneering this technology with first introduction of integrated SIM back in 2020 with first tier one operators. And just last week, actually, we announced another great milestone that iSIM technology from G&D will become also available with latest RSB technology, which we will talk about. So from that point of view, exciting topic, and happy to discuss with you folks.
Super. Okay. And then our last panelist, Jean-Christophe from Oasis. So Jean-Christophe, can you just say a few words?
Yeah, hi everyone. Really nice to be here. I'm Jean-Christophe Tisseuil. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Oasis Smart SIM. Just a word on my previous experience that can be useful for that discussion. I was leading the eSIM project in GSMA for 7 years during starting 2014. So what happened with SGP22 is a bit something that I have followed closely, obviously, and I have also worked for Qualcomm for a year as a contractor to promote iSIM technology. So a quick word on Oasis. The good news, or the news, if you are not aware, is that Oasis, Tata Communication, has taken 100% ownership of Oasis last July. So we are becoming we are moving from a 60 people company to a 7,000 people company with the overall objective to deliver an end-to-end solution from the enablement of eSIM, the technology in itself, IGP02, 22, 32, with the relevant solution to activate a SIM, an eSIM, or an iSIM, towards connectivity, Tata offering connectivity, local and roaming connectivity in over 200 countries around the globe.
Fantastic, great. So we have a number of discussion points that we're going to go through in the panel, but we'd also like to get your questions, and there will be a section of this panel at the end where we respond to your questions. So do please, as Keith said earlier, send your questions in any time, and then we will try to get to that when we get to the Q&A section a little bit later. Okay, so we're going to start with some discussion points now to get the ball rolling on iSIM and what it means and what the implications of it are in the future. So I'd like to start actually with Jean-Christophe with the first question. What is an iSIM? Because I mean there may well be some people out there who don't really know.
Yeah, so as discussed during the preparation of this panel discussion, I thought it would be a good idea to start with a few words around this. So first, I would reuse a sentence that is known for being owned by a guy from a big operator, but iSIM is a SIM. So it's a very blunt statement, but it's an obviously very important one. A SIM is a combination of software and hardware that enable secure service authentication. So we all know that. And for many years, we have seen the plastic SIM, which was a unique form factor available to activate a device. And we have seen also that this plastic SIM was already provisioned with an operator, and that the ecosystem, the IoT ecosystem, the automotive ecosystem, had to deal with a management of local SIM in a global world. So eSIM came from that, so that you need to move from something that is already provisioned on the SIM to something that needs or is able to be provisioned when landing to its destination. It's the obvious need, and the obvious need is that solution replicate, and that's what we're trying to do at GSMA, replicate as much as possible the existing process that exists in the physical plastic SIM. So being able to choose your operator and activate your SIM with the operator of your choice. So that can be a deal done before the product landing in the field, or it can be a deal done by a consumer when he buys his car or his laptop. So in the SIM world, there is an hardware, plastic one, everybody knows about it. In the eSIM world, there is an hardware. It's either soldered on the device by the manufacturer. It can still be a plastic SIM. eSIM is not only something that you can use on a soldered SIM. Obviously, in some use case, it's completely irrelevant to use a plastic SIM. But it's still a dedicated piece of hardware that you are using. In many cases, it's exactly the same hardware that you're using in a plastic card, but that's another discussion. But it's still a dedicated piece of hardware that is soldered on the device and that you will be able to activate over the air. iSIM is integrated SIM. It moves the SIM in a secure enclave inside the application processor, the chipset of the device. So there is no more need for a dedicated hardware. This SIM function is integrated in a secure enclave in the chipset of the connected object. The obvious benefits is, first, it's a simplification. It's a real estate improvement. Some hardware are still big, and when you design a device, whatever is the device, space matters. Even the smallest space matters, so it's really important to have that in mind. And it's important that it's inside an hardware. What iSIM is not, what integrated is not, it's not a soft SIM. And that's a very important point. It's an hardware SIM. And that's basically what I wanted to say as an introduction on what is iSIM. iSIM is a SIM.
That's it. Great. Okay. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that before we move on to the next point.
No, I think that was a perfect introduction and
it does seem to be pretty complete, actually. Yes. Okay, that's great.
Right.
All right. So I think the next question that it obviously begs is, will iSIM replace eSIM? So got lots of initials there, but we've had an embedded SIM now for about 6 or 7 years. Will iSIM replace eSIM? So Luigi, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, thanks, Robin. I think that in general, it will depend on the use case. So I think that the right topic here to ask ourselves, the right question to ask ourselves is, will the iSIM replace the eSIM in every vertical? Because there are some verticals, if you take, for example, asset tracking, smart metering, wherever, as Jean-Christophe put it, the real estate, so the form factor is crucial. Wherever the battery consumption is crucial, I think that iSIM will definitely replace eSIM. There are many advantages to do that. You don't need to buy a separate SIM, so your BOM is different. You don't need to solder it. You don't need to have a higher battery consumption because of that, because it's integrated in the circuit of the modem. But there are also other applications, routers. Let's think about gateways now, which of course, as a volume of devices are less, but from a connectivity point of view, maybe they produce even more connectivity than smart meters. So depending to whom you speak in the industry, they may be more or less interested in this or that vertical. So I think that, for example, gateways, routers, I don't think we will see a quick switch to iSIM, an immediate or complete switch to iSIM, simply because it's less of a compelling event, in my opinion. But again, automotive, telematics, smart metering, asset tracking, surely it adds a lot of benefits.
That's great. Steffen, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I would agree to the previous comments, and at the same time, I think it's maybe good to put into perspective, right? G&T brought first plastic SIM into the market in 1991, and it is still around in very high billions of numbers.
Yes.
For the embedded SIM card, all the standardization about remote SIM provision, etc., started more than 10 years ago. And today we are very proud to see that 100 million of cars, for instance, utilize embedded SIM, and also first high volume devices do carry embedded SIM cards. If we now have iSIM technology, we believe that's a very important natural evolvement or further integration for optimizing much of the SIM functionality without, limiting the SIM functionality, and of course also keeping aware of all the security which goes for this technology. But that is how we see that there will be a parallel evolvement, and for some segments there's high interest to start with iSIM, whereas in other areas, it took a time to evolve from plastic to embedded SIM, and we will probably see all these technologies, remain viable for various clusters in the market also for the future.
Yeah, okay. So, Rich, do you have anything to add to that, perhaps, or are you
just
okay
a little
with
bit? I certainly agree with Luigi that it's use case dependent. If your use case isn't battery powered and you have access to power and you have the real estate, obviously, like Jean-Christophe said, the iSIM is just another form factor for the SIM. And believe it or not, like Steffen said, plastic SIMs are out there, and actually plastic SIMs are the most flexible SIM to use because you can just remove them and put another one in. And also, if you have the real estate, there's a little complexity in deploying iSIM as far as putting up like a bootstrap profile down on an iSIM. Whereas if you use an MFF2, which is a standard eSIM, you don't have that complexity. You have more flexibility of what chip goes with which profile. So there is simplification with the existing SIMs that are out there. But again, use cases like smart labels definitely will tend toward using the iSIM.
That's great. Yeah, that's a good extra point, actually. I think I'd like to move on to another point, which is a little bit more complex than just what is an iSIM and stuff like that. So we have a remote SIM provisioning standard, and the first standard in that area was called SGP.02, which was for M2M. Then we've had SGP.22, which is for consumer devices. And now we have SGP.32, which is coming along for IoT devices. So that's quite a lot of different specifications around. So I'd like to ask the question first of Steffen, and then Jean-Christophe, since he has all this background with GSMA, can help with this. In what way is SGP.32 an improvement on the older M2M spec SGP.02, and will it replace it? So that's a rather long question, but I'm hoping that Steffen will be able to pick all of that up.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And as you said, it's a bit complex stuff, maybe. So let's let me try to simplify and shorten as much as possible. I mean, basically, these two standards, SGP02, the old M2M standard, and now the recently released new SGP.32 standard, are both GSMA specifications that enable remote SIM provisioning, and they are supposed to work for IoT devices. They have been defined to enable exactly this mechanism to switch mobile network operator profiles on a built-in SIM. And that is, first of all, regardless if that is a plastic SIM, an embedded SIM, or an iSIM. Yeah, so here we are agnostic about form factors. However, it must be supported always both from device side and from the respective SIM. So we have to take care that, according standards are built into the system if they want to be used. Now, this new SGP32 specification for IoT devices, it works very similar to this other specification that you just mentioned, which is a consumer specification, the SGP22. And this has been very successfully being deployed in millions of devices in the consumer domain, like smartphones, tablets, and alike. And one of the great benefits of this consumer specification, as well as this new SGP32 standard, is that both are based on internet protocols. So this IP-based solution enables a very fast loading and changing of network operator profiles. On the other hand, the SGP02 standard, the first remote SIM provisioning standard, was managing profiles via SMS. So in this case, it takes longer and is not really up to date for many of the new and recent IoT applications. And in order to make a long answer short, bottom line, the SGP32, I would say, is now the standard that allows a scalable and state-of-the-art solution to support this technology. And we are looking very forward to see, strong movement into that direction for all these IoT devices.
That's great. So Jean-Christophe, would you like to add to that?
Yes, if you allow me, yes, with pleasure. Let me rewind a little bit to complement what Steffen said. So at the origin, SGP02 has been specified with the idea that there was nobody beyond the object that you needed to activate with a network provider. So it's a push model. So the SR, in that case, DP, SR, SIM, push the profile to the hardware in the device. When in SGP022, the consumer one, it was considered that there was somebody behind the device, and therefore it's a pull mechanism. The person that is using the device enables the download of his profile. So when I was there at that time, we started to discuss the opportunity to have something more specific for IoT. I think the idea was to have a more optimized solution to address the IoT market sector, as there was a requirement to have a push and a pull mechanism, something much more dynamic, without the complexity of the SR. The SR is a complex box in the middle of the M2M architecture, and to bring a more scalable, let's put it like this, solution to the market. I believe that SGP32 there are great expectations from the ecosystem on SGP32. Obviously, it is pending the certification that because the spec is available, it has been published in May under your control. There are big expectations from the ecosystem on SGP32 to gain flexibility, simplicity, scalability, keeping the same level of security that offer the specification.
That's great. Yeah. And what about you, Rich? Do you have any points to make on that?
Well, I'll bring in additional points in our upcoming questions. I think the additional material fits well there.
Okay. Okay. All right. No, that's fine.
Robin, I think in the question they were, is it going to replace?
Yes.
I'm not sure. Despite the telecom willing to be a very agile ecosystem, it will take time. Lifetime of a car is 10 years. Lifetime of a counter, a meter is 20 years. There are a certain number of objects that will not switch overnight from SGP02 to SGP32.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So do you think? I mean, just to clarify that, do you think that people will start using SGP32 as soon as they can, and will stop using O2 except for the installed base? Do you think that's likely, or do you think that there'll be more new base going out there using O2 in the future? Do you think there'll be both together, or do you think that it'll be okay?
If let's take a car maker, if a car maker has deployed 02 for the moment, he is producing vehicle with 02, and those vehicles will still be on the field in 15 years, and we'll have to maintain those 02. In the same time, there are some of them investigating 32 and considering that maybe it's a good alternative solution. So if you take the lifetime of Automotive, it means that the moment they are designing the product for 2027 or 2028. So we have to be ready for the first release, and they have a process which is a long one. So starting in 20 whatever, they will embed this new technology if the choice they make at that moment, and they will put it on the market when they are ready, and then there will be a beginning of a switch. It will take time.
Okay. All right. No, that's great.
I can add something there as well.
Okay.
So yeah, as Jean-Christophe said, people who have the .02 will continue to have that and potentially stand up a .32 beside it. Certainly, they're not going to rip and replace their O2 and put in a .32. Anyone who's starting a new remote SIM provisioning platform will go directly to the .32.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. All right. We're going to move on a little bit to actual use of this in the marketplace. And Luigi, I'd like to come back to you on that. So what is the best way to cater for roaming in iSIM?
Well, Robin, we need to consider that one of the advantages of the iSIM is that its power consumption is the lowest among all the SIM form factors.
Right. Yeah.
So what we think is that it would be a good idea to combine this advantage with the advantage offered by using multi-IMSI profiles embedded in this iSIM, so that you can reduce the extra power consumption and also the extra communication exchanges needed for the OTA. And you can combine having multiple IMSIs with local breakouts in order to reduce latency even further and prolong battery life even further. For example, we launched a couple of weeks ago with Qualcomm a new Qualcomm product, which is called Qualcomm Aware, which is a new kind of intelligent asset tracking device, full end-to-end asset tracker with, of course, location, but also an advanced iSIM solution in there. And the best solution that we found together with Qualcomm to improve battery life, improve the global coverage, is using multi-IMSI together with iSIM. So a multi-IMSI profile in the iSIM, instead of having EUICC profiles with one IMSI per profile and having to switch between one EUICC profile to the other one if you land in a given country or if you need coverage in a given area that the previous profile didn't offer. Because each time you want to switch between EUICC profiles, you require an OTA, which is, it does have some challenges as of today, both if it's SGP02 or if it will be SGP32, it will still require a higher battery consumption than just switching within the same profile autonomously without having to connect to an SMSR or an SMDP or SMDP+. So that's the best use of iSIM that we see at the moment, and we've seen it in practice with Qualcomm after very many months of testing.
All right, no, that's great. So, Rich, do you have anything to add to that? So, from a roaming perspective, so iBASIS gets involved in a lot of roaming internationally. So, I suspect you might have something to add to that.
Yes. So, again, an iSIM is just another form factor for an eSIM, right? So, we treat them the same way. So what we want on our SIM is a powerful global roaming bootstrap to start, and, applets on that SIM to be able to fall back to that powerful global roaming bootstrap. If you do a profile switch, for example, for permanent roaming reasons or regulation reasons where you need to lay down a local profile, you can use profile switching, put down another profile. If that profile doesn't connect, it'll fall back to the global roaming bootstrap. And also, if you talk about like tier one operators, like in the US, they're not going to give you their IMSI. So you're not going to be using multi-IMSI. You need to take their profile right from their SMDP plus and SGP.32 or their DP in O2.
Okay, that's fine. I'd like to then go on and ask you the specific question, Rich, of will SGP32 live up to the hype it's getting in the market?
Yeah, so let's talk about the hype a little bit. So, there's been a lot of articles written lately, and a lot of them say the same thing, basically, that SGP.32 will transform the IoT marketplace, and all the billions of devices that we've been waiting for and the massive machine type communications, all these devices are going to, immediately come online after SGP.32 is deployed in 24 and 25. But, it's not really the case. And this is when I mentioned before, I'll bring in some more attributes of what SGP.32 brings. Certainly SGP.32 brings the solution to the issues, especially in low power wide area, and especially for NB-IoT, where a lot of NB-IoT networks didn't support SMS. So SGP.32 will work without SMS. Also, SGP.32 will work, and when there's, power switching modes like PSM and EDRX, which interfered with profile switching like an NB-IoT, those are solved by SGP.32. And also non-IP data delivery is supported. So certainly for the class of low power devices, SGP32 will transform, say, the NB-IoT space. But you have to look at the whole other side of cellular connected IoT devices. You still need to have mobile operator relationships. You need to manage a fleet of SIMs. So, SGP.32 doesn't care for any of that. You need to have a mobile operator partner where you have a number of rate plans available to you. You have to be able to manage SIMs. You have to be able to change rate plans. You need to be able to manage the SIM life cycle. You may want to group SIMs and then, say, suspend a whole group of SIMs or change the rate plan on a whole group of SIMs. So now you still need to interface to the CMP of the mobile operator or write to their API. So now if we're talking about SGP.32, it's not like SGP.22. This isn't like a consumer who's going to download a profile and just sit on that profile, or maybe travel to a foreign country and download, a profile in that foreign country because they're traveling there. We're talking about a fleet of devices. If you're working with a number of MNOs, you're going to get bills from all these MNOs for thousands of IoT devices. And you need to be able to control, if you download a profile from an operator, you need to control maybe these 5,000 on that CMP and that 5,000 on the other CMP. And essentially, what SGP.32 will make IoT service providers become is really an IoT aggregator like iBASIS. So, we've done all that heavy lifting, and it's not going to transform, the market. If these IoT SPs are going to do this and have their own SGP.32 instances, they have to do all the integrations with the MNOs, which is pretty heavy lifting, which is not their core competency and something that they probably would rather not do.
Okay, well, I suspect that others may have a view on this. Steffen, I don't know if you would like to say something about that, or?
I mean, I would definitely support these general statements. There are a number of advantages for this SGP32 versus O2. I think we stated earlier that also my expectation is that for new installations, 32 has significant benefits versus the O2. Although the fleet will remain on this standard, of course, if it is deployed, but for new deployments, this standard opens quite better options. And especially maybe on your point with regard to, you're absolutely right. I mean, many operators, also tier 1 operators, will have to be onboarded, but the process of onboarding for this new standard is much more easier without this SMSR requirements, so that we foresee that there will be significantly lower cost and faster time to market also, which is of course a high advantage for the IoT makers to deploy on this new standard.
Okay, Jean-Christophe, do you have a view on this?
I think everything important required has been said already, so I will pass. I prefer the next one if you invite me.
Okay, all right. So the next question is, what is the likely impact of iSIM on product manufacturers? Do they need to invest in new manufacturing plants? I was going to start with Steffen on that, but very happy to have Jean-Christophe come in as well. But Steffen, perhaps you could start off with that, because we see the way that iSIM is going to work. There's going to be more emphasis on product manufacturers than there has been up to now. Would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, definitely, because I think here is one of the key assets that iSIM will bring to the market, because iSIM offers now the opportunity to optimize production processes and inventory, because a lot fewer components are needed to deploy a SIM-enabled device. With iSIM, there's no extra SIM modules or SIM embedded SIMs obviously needed, but also like SIM trays and these other components are no longer necessary. All inventory keeping of SIM will become redundant, because the SIM functionality is combined in this what is called system on chip on the broader broadband device, so that there's a significant reduction in bill of material needed. In addition to that, we believe that in addition this for especially for sustainability of devices, things can be improved, because there are fewer components needed. It's completely sheltered in combination with the other benefits of lower battery, longer lifetime for a component. So in principle, the manufacturing side should understand that this iSIM solution can be understood basically to digitalize the SIM card, and therefore the whole loading process will happen in a pure software package loading process without any physical material handling, which from our point of view and the feedback we see from the market here is definitely optimizing, especially for the product manufacturers, a lot.
So Jean-Christophe, do you think that this puts the product manufacturers more in the driving seat?
Yes and no. I think that on this question, what is important to highlight is there is the benefit, obviously, that Steffen has highlighted, but there are also some constraints. The ecosystem is expecting trust, and one element of trust is the factory certification from GSMA called SAS. At the moment of time, if there is the need to provision a profile inside the iSIM or the SIM or whatever SIM, there is a certification required from of the factory plan that is usually a SAS-SM certification from GSMA. So I think the impact number one, beyond the benefit highlighted by Steffen, is this requirement to keep or to enable the trust of this new provisioning system inside the iSIM ecosystem. I'm not sure I'm clear. Am I? I am. Okay, cool.
I think clear enough. Yes, I think it's a very complicated subject actually, and I think that it's quite difficult to get your hands around it in just a discussion. But I think that we're giving the sort of flavour to the audience of what you need to consider. Sorry, Rich, did you want to make a point?
Yeah, maybe I can add something to that. So it depends on who you call the manufacturer. If you call like a device or pallet manufacturer who's putting the iSIM modem in his device, he has no changes to his manufacturing process. But the SOC manufacturer and the eSIM SIM-OS manufacturer have, as Jean-Christophe indicated, they have to be, security credentialed in order to handle this process. And mating the profile with the iSIM is more complex in iSIM, where the SIM-OS load is actually encrypted for a particular hardware ID that the load has to go onto. So there have to be a mated pair. So it's more complex, and there's accreditation that has to happen when you're putting that iSIM together. But once it comes out as a complete like iSIM modem module, then that manufacturer can just take the part and install it in their device.
That's great. That's a very useful additional point, actually, that there is an accreditation that needs to happen. I think that's very key.
Please,
Luigi, I'd just like to
jump in a very, very short one, Richard.
Sure.
I think
Okay.
Exactly, correctly explained the mechanism how the security is granted also for this pure digital loading of the SIM into the device. At the same time, I think it's very important to share the info that there is no special security certification required for any product manufacturer, right? So I think from the construct, we defined a way to securely get the digital blob into the device, but there's no further, plant certification whatsoever needed, which would definitely be a showstopper for this kind of technology.
Yes, absolutely. That's obviously a very important point as well. Yeah, thanks for making that. So Luigi, I'd like to ask you a point from the audience is how do different connectivity methods resonate with the main drivers for adopting iSIM? Does that make sense to you?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So for connectivity methods, what I think we could mean is what the end customer needs from this connectivity. What kind of connectivity they need. So of course, I think we said it before, and also Rich and I may have different opinions on this, but obviously an automotive end customer will have a certain requirement to deploy 1 million cars in Turkey or in the US, right? So in that case, they can reason with iSIM having a bootstrap which gives them the largest possible roaming footprint, and then using a local profile or a local solution, let's say, on that iSIM to respond to a certain need. While there may be another case, for example, there's a project running in R&D with Sony for specific asset tracking devices, and also other cases like smart labels that we mentioned before, use cases that we're not seeing much today. Now we have a lot of talks going around smart labels, but we haven't seen a lot of actual smart labels being manufactured yet. But with iSIM, for example, we think that smart labels can be a solution that becomes sustainable from a technical and an economical point of view. And in that case, again, catering for the iSIM means using it in a different way than the automotive, using it with probably a set of IMSIs that you can use on that. Of course, you need to have the agreements to do it, as Rich said, but provided that you do have the agreements to do that. In cases where low power is needed, probably it makes more sense to use IMSIs within the same profile than to switch between one USEC profile to the other one. I think that could be the answer to such a question, probably.
Okay, all right. Well, look, unfortunately, we're going to have to break there because we need to make way for the spotlight presenter who is coming on now. So I'd like to thank you all for participating in this. We could have gone on for a much longer time, frankly. But I'm handing over to Keith now to introduce our spotlight speaker. Oh, you're on mute, Keith. You're on mute. Now you're fine now.
Thanks to you, Robin, and thanks to everyone on our panel. Really appreciate the conversation this morning, and I learned a lot personally, I can tell you. I took notes on most of it. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate that. And now we have a spotlight presentation on device management, and that'll be coming to us from Ofer Greenberg. Ofer is the Senior Director of Business Development for Friendly Technologies, with more than a decade of experience in the telecom and IoT sectors. He's responsible for business development in North America, APAC, and Latin America. Ofer, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, Ofer. Take us away.
All right. So let me just share my presentation, I believe. Let me know once you can see it.
I can see it now.
Okay, great. So thank you, everyone. My name is Ofer Greenberg, Director of Business Development here at Friendly Technologies. And we're delighted to join the IMC group and for the opportunity of partnering with the rest of you in various future opportunities. So just to put things in perspective, following the previous iSIM panel, okay, so I'll be presenting the concept of IoT device management, which basically begins when SIM management finishes. So in other words, the SIM management platform authenticates and registers the IoT devices to the cellular network. Once the device is on the cellular network is when we start managing the device itself from the perspective of TCP/IP and connecting and collecting data from the device. Just a few words about Friendly Technologies. Basically, we've been in business since 1997 and started our work with device management in around 2006. We have over 300 customers globally and managing well over 1 billion with the B devices worldwide. Okay, and as you can see, since our device management platform caters for any broadband routers as well as IoT devices and sensors, among our customers, you can find carriers, ISPs, enterprises, and utilities. And as far as the system integrations and other partners, we have great relationships with and also project experience with different device manufacturers, as well as IoT module providers, and also the various system integrators from around the globe. Okay. I'm trying to do it quick, guys, so bear with me. So let's look at some of the main challenges when managing an IoT device, okay? So first, basically, we look at scale and diversity. Managing vast quantities of devices from various vendors using different management protocols. That's a big challenge. Another challenge is R&D costs and the efforts to make these devices manageable. And third, maintaining device health with the consideration of device lifecycle. So from the moment device registered, the process of provisioning, then diagnostics and troubleshootings, and anyway to firmware updates and collecting device information for insights, and also managing IoT devices from, it's not just a technical task, okay? It's totally a multi-phase challenge demanding unified approach, which is absolutely what we look at, just unified device management. So let's look at an example of managing a smart gateway, okay? Smart gateway communicates and controls end devices. It uses different protocols. Some of them are known like Zigbee, Z-Wave, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and so on. It also shares that information back to the management platform, and through that gateway, we can manage these devices at the home or at the office or anywhere in the field. Many smart gateways uses fixed wireless connectivity for firmware updates. This is called FOTA, firmware over the air. Another new trend that we see with smart gateways is the support of software containers. So you can run different services inside the device, using different containers. And that is also something that can be updated from remote. We call it SOTA, software over the air. Finally, one of the key factors in device management is quality of service and insights. So by collecting different indicators from the gateway and taking correct measures for improving the device performance and user experience is something that we focus on, as well as our customers and service providers around the world. We have a few minutes more, so I'll just wrap things up with just a quick overview of the platform itself. Friendly's IoT management platform is more than just a standalone system. In its core, it's powered with business intelligence and analytics capabilities, ensuring every piece of data we collect transforms into actionable insights. And then we have our application enablement, allowing us to write different applications for different vertical activities. And connectivity management, which is everything that we discussed so far about IoT device management. And finally is the I'm going to jump one. Yeah. So these would be the main elements. So from the left-hand side, you can see in the blue circle, you look at manage the device management functionality, and then all the activities that you see with any IoT platform, which is collecting data, analyzing it, processing it, and creating applications. So to wrap things up, I will say that Friendly Technologies, we have experts in device management. We have extensive experience working in many projects around the world, and we're happy to share them with you offline, of course. We work with standard protocols. We have a unified approach. We manage any device, any sensor, regardless to the make or model of the device. And we'll be happy to share that experience with you guys and work together. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now, if you want. Back to you.
Ofer, I've got a couple of questions myself, just real quick, if that's okay.
Sure.
iSIM. We're talking about iSIM in the previous panel. Mm-hmm. Does that really mean anything to device management, or is it completely a separate issue?
Yeah. it's basically transparent to device management. iSIM is a critical, managing, any device, registering it to the cellular network, whether it's iSIM, eSIM, or SIM, requires a SIM management platform. So that will be step number one. We come into play after. So we can basically integrate with a SIM management platform in order to collect various device information and registration information. But it's not, we work in parallel to it, but yes, not one on the account of the other.
Right.
Yeah.
And you talked a bit about over-the-air provisioning.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a very important subject. Is security really the main reason to have that as such a necessity, or are there other important things going on with over-the-air provisioning?
Yeah. So over-the-air provisioning relates to sending a device to a customer and being able to pretty much turn it on.
Right.
Turning the device on. Part of it is making sure the device has the latest firmware that the provider has to offer. So if needed, yes, update the device. Secondly, register the device from IP perspective. So authenticate the device to the network so it can start connected to the internet or connected to the network. And security is a key factor. Security has various aspects when registering a device. There is, of course, different security keys. And there is different mechanism within different protocols that caters to security. So security is a very, very big factor of of over-the-air connectivity. Yes.
Right. And I assume that's because of updates. You're needing to secure devices. You want to be updating those things as often as you need to.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also within the security is something that we can integrate with the SIM platform as well.
How does that work?
So whitelist, blacklist, you can only communicate with devices that are allowed in the network. You can obviously not communicate it with devices that the network doesn't allow to communicate with. So from that sense, and then there is other mechanism again for security, encryption, and using different security keys. Yeah.
Terrific stuff. We're coming to the end here, so
Sure.
hey, thanks so much, Ofer, for joining us this
appreciate
morning. Really appreciate your time.
Thank
And I know Friendly Technologies has been around for a good few decades at this point, and we're very pleased to have you guys in the fold. And we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great rest of your day, guys.
Great. Thanks so much. And with that, we'll conclude this session. Please join us for our next session, which is coming up in 1/2 hour. That session is on convergence of 5G, satellite, and low power connectivity. We'll also have 2 spotlight presentations, one on securing IoT devices and another on digital enterprise wireless technology convergence. So please join us for that. Thanks so much, everyone, and stay safe and well.